Hi, everyone. We're running well, no, we're not. We're right on time. Super. So I want to thank you all for sticking in for this last session. We have a couple of really important activities to talk to you about. In the last year or so, OCB has collaborated with the U.S. CLIVAR Project Office to facilitate a review, an external review of the U.S. GOSHIP program. So I have asked Alison Macdonald, who is on the Executive Council, to just give a short overview of what GOSHIP is, because I'm sure not all of you are intimately familiar with this program, and then I am going to report out on the results of the review on behalf of the review committee, because unfortunately none of them could be here at OCB this year. So let's start with Alison.
Okay, so this is going to be really quick, but as she said, I know there are some of you who know nothing about GOSHIP and some of you who are intimately connected with it. So, you can go to sleep if you're intimately connected with it. I'm Alison. I'm on the Executive Council. I'm going to show you who else is on there in a minute. Many of these slides came from Lynn Talley and Greg Johnson and were presented in some form at the review. But I've only got very few slides here, and many slides were presented at the review. So this is the GOSHIP Executive Council. As I said, maybe I didn't. Greg and Lynn are the co-chairs. And underneath that, we have a number of people, both from NOAA and people who are NSF funded at different institutions who are on the Executive Council. Rick Wallenkoff is now ex officio. He's one of the co-chairs of the International GOSHIP. I'm going to tell you what GOSHIP is in a second. U.S. GOSHIP committee is much bigger, and it includes all the NOAA and NSF funded PIs, as well as the chief and co-chief scientists that have participated in the program within 3 years. So that's a large group of people that we sometimes have a good many of them on a single telecon, but the Executive Council is smaller. So what we're talking about here is between 2015 and 2020, which was the last funding period for U.S. GOSHIP. GOSHIP principal scientific objectives. The idea is that we're looking to understand and document large-scale ocean property distributions, their changes, and the drivers of those changes. And we want to do this in order to address questions about a future ocean. And that future ocean, we expect to see increases in DIC and acidification and stratification, and to experience changes in circulation and ventilation processes that are due to changing water cycle, global warming, anthropogenic, as well as natural variability. So GOSHIP provides this is our little statement, how we sell ourselves, the highest required accuracy global decadal basin-wide full water column observations of multiple properties, so as to resolve heat, fresh water, carbon, oxygen, nutrient, and transient tracer inventories. And I want to give you a little bit of history for those of you who don't know. GOSHIP is all about taking long hydrographic sections, basin-wide, land to land, and it's important to get the land to land because of the boundary currents. So there have been land to land transects done for many years, and back in the late 1950s there was IGY. There's an example up here, and I'm not going to try and point to that. There's only one figure up there. Those were the Atlantic sections that were done during IGY. There's a large number of sections there. There was temperature, oxygen, nutrients done on those sections. But as an example, 24 degrees north had 160-kilometer station spacing. There were 40 stations across the entire basin. Whereas nowadays, when we do transects across that latitude, we're talking about 120 stations, much narrower station spacing. Geosex in the 1970s was also global. It did full north-south lines in each of the major ocean basins, but there were only 150 stations globally. They took huge amounts of water. They also did radiocarbon. And then there are a set of lines which are somewhat disconnected, but we tend to think of them as pre-WHOS. They were coast to coast. They were fairly closely spaced. They were full depth. They had many of the core GOSHIP parameters taken on them. And I listed a few there underneath that might arguably be considered pre-WHOS. And then came WHOS. And the idea here is that we were going to execute this global baseline survey, the synoptic view of the global ocean. We were going to have less than 50 nautical mile station spacing everywhere, much closer over steep bathymetry, close to boundaries, 24 to 36 depths at every single station. And there were going to be specified standards for accuracy and precision. If you wanted to be part of WHOS, you had to meet these standards. And JGOFS provided the chemistry. And there was, in the US, a 2-year to open data policy. In the 2000s, there was CLIVAR, and that was a reoccupation of key specific zonal mid-latitude lines on which we wanted meridional transports, and meridional lines on which we wanted inventories in the deep basins. And here we were aiming for 30 nautical mile spacing. That's about 55 kilometers. Still specified standards for accuracy and precision, and they're either the same or they're improved standards. And now we're supporting ancillary projects. And in the US, at least, there was an immediate open data policy, meaning that when we came into port, the data was open to everybody. And then came GOSHIP. And this was the second decadal reoccupation. If you've ever wondered what GOSHIP stood for, that's what it is. And I wrote it down because I can never remember. Again, we're aiming for 30 nautical mile station spacing. We've got improved standards for accuracy and precision, and in particular, we're starting to use more standard seawater. And we're supporting ancillary projects. It's now become a big part of the program. And there's now this policy of immediate open data for everybody involved. That's in the US. And the third decade's coming up, and I better speed up. So I'm just going to quickly show you that we base what we measure on the essential ocean variables that are defined by the GOOS expert panels. And those are variables which have both high impact and they are highly feasible. So when you're talking about the traits we were talking about in that last session, this might be one way you might go about looking for them. Can you measure them, and how much impact do they have? US GOSHIP required measurements are these ones in the red boxes. And these are the level ones. We have level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 are required, and they have a strict data policy. And I'm not going to list them all. We're just going to keep going because we're running out of time. And then we have level 2. These are highly desirable. There's also a strict data policy with these, meaning that they have to be turned in, and they will become public. Level 3, the data policy is set outside of GOSHIP. There's still the request that all the data be turned in to the program. And these are the ancillary data sets. GOSHIP loves to hear from people who want to do ancillary projects. Just contact Lynn or Greg. The goals for US GOSHIP are to reoccupy these key coast-to-coast sections. We want to provide climate-ready reference standard data. We want to provide opportunities for synergistic experimental or emerging programs. You can contact Jim Swift at Issa Rosso for information, or Lynn Talley, or Greg, or anybody on that executive council. And you can look us up. You can just look up Google GOSHIP or US GOSHIP. You'll find us. There's data management required for all level 1 measurements. It's recommended for level 2, and it's requested for the ancillary data sets as well. There's effort put into early career training for scientists and students, particularly on cruises. And again, you can see Issa Rosso or the chief scientist if you find out which cruise you want to be on. Analysis and publication of results. Funding is extremely limited. We have some funding for postdocs, and we have some funding for anthropogenic carbon analysis, but other than that, there is no analysis money within GOSHIP itself. And we're now planning for the next 5 years, which is why we're having the review. We had the review in January. We presented a lot of stuff. For everything we presented, we pointed out the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats as we saw them, and Heather's going to take it from there.
Thank you, Alison, for that and for spelling out that acronym.